The second Aeldari model I built for my army in Warhammer 40k was a Far Seer. So this is obviously a much smaller model than the Warwalker, but it is a pretty important part of the Aeldari army. This guy is a character, so it's not a named character. You can actually have more than one of these in a army at the same time, but it is important. You do need at least one character in order to play the game, and this one has some important spells and other abilities. I like how this one turned out. I did a few things with this, some of which I would continue to do and some of which I haven't continued to do. But there's a lot going on here. It was kind of like too much. So my color scheme was this Gauss Blaster green, that minty green, and then a lilac for the purples and an orange. But the helmet seemed like it needed something else, so I did actually go darker there. I don't remember the color of purple that is, but the purple on the helmet and the purple on the staff are actually a darker color. And there's a little bit darker color green there too, just in order to make it seem more fierce and kind of stand out. Now some of the details, especially with the orange and that intersection, I was actually impressed with how I was able to color those in. The other baubles that are on there, it felt like too much, so I actually kind of colored them in a way that made them not stand out as much, kind of dip into the background, and that was by using that silver. I think the silver actually worked out pretty well with this color scheme. It makes it interesting, but not too interesting. It lets some of the other colors stand out. This darker green blade here, I probably would use a different color if I was going to do it again, but I liked how this one turned out. I think in general this kind of impressed me with some of my ability to do just the whole thing in general. So why did I choose a Far Seer? Well, it comes with the box obviously, but I knew I wanted a Far Seer because at the beginning of the 10th edition, it seemed like it was pretty important for how this army worked. The rules are kind of changing at this point in time, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen and how much importance this unit is going to have for the rest of the army. But when I started getting into this army kind of had the ability to sub in dice and kind of like break the dice game, I guess you could say. If you're rolling dice in order for things to happen, this army had the ability to sub in dice that you rolled at the beginning of the game. Like say, for example, you really needed something to blow up. You could use the 6 and use that for your attack roll or something. This guy could turn 1s or 2s or whatever's into 6s. So that seemed pretty important. That seemed the kind of thing to build an army around. Not sure where it's going at this point in time, but it'll probably have something cool. It's kind of like one of the core space wizards of this army. So they have psychic characters in this game, space wizards. And this is kind of the basic space wizard of the Aeldari. So might even have 2 of these by the end of this. But so that's why I went with him. There's not really any variety on weapon choices or anything. You just kind of have what you have. He's got a spear. In fact, there's actually not a lot of posability on this one. You can rotate his arms, and that's about it. I am actually making a second one with different arms, so we'll see how goofy that looks when I get to it. But pretty pleased with the Far Seer. Would recommend. He was a nice break from a larger project. He or she was a nice break from a larger project and kind of made you feel like you're doing something quickly, as opposed to the Warwalker, which kind of felt like it took forever.